Let me share with you bad credit business lines of credit. They'll report to Equifax business. And so here's a review I want you to pay attention to. So the first bad credit business line of credit that reports to Equifax business is Bluevine. So Bluevine does a great job. They actually report to Equifax business once a month. This is really good. And so this business line of credit, if you have a FICO score of 500, you could qualify, not a problem. And so they report to Equifax, so just make sure that you repay your business line of credit on time, not a problem. The application time takes about 5 to 7 minutes, really fast, and the application speed about 10 minutes. So you can be funded within 24 hours, not a problem. The maximum line of credit amount for bad credit here is $250,000, but this $250,000, the $250,000, actually is applicable to businesses that have good credit. If you have bad credit, you can still qualify, but you will probably be approved for about $50,000 all the way to $75,000. And the APR is kind of cool though. You are looking at 6.2% all the way to 8%. And if you have bad credit, just expect somewhere about 15% in terms of APR. But you have to repay this business line of credit on a weekly basis and sometimes on a bi-weekly basis. So this is what it is. And the repayment term is really short though. So Bluevine is not taking any risk with you. If your business has bad credit, they want you to repay everything within 12 months. Now, 12 months renewable. So if you do a good job the first year, they can renew it, not a problem. So minimum credit score here starts from 500 all the way to 625. So Bluevine is really flexible in terms of the credit score that they ask for, and they report again to Equifax business. And they want you to be in business for a minimum 2 years. And they also have a high sort of criterion for annual revenue. Sometimes they'll ask you all the way to $40,000 a year, a month rather, $40,000 a month when it comes to revenue requirements. So those are things, but minimum credit score here, we're looking at 500 all the way to 625. Fantastic. Boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. We're having a quick convo about the bad credit business line of credit that reports to Equifax business. The second business line of credit lender that I want to share with you is Fundbox. And Fundbox can finance you all the way to $150,000. The FICO score they're asking for revolves around 475 all the way to 550, and it can go all the way to 575 in some cases. That's the minimum. And so it takes about 3 to 5 minutes to apply online, and just make sure that you are able to pre-qualify if possible. And so the approval it will take about 2 hours or 3 hours to approve your application, and they will fund you within 24 hours. So this is really good. But again, the line of credit amount here is $150,000. That's the maximum that you can get. And so the interest rates revolves around 4.67 all the way to 14.67%. Of course, if you have bad credit, expect to pay somewhere from 14 to 20%. And so this is the repayment term is kind of similar to what Bluevine has. So Bluevine has 1 year, right? Maximum. And Fundbox has even a shorter repayment window. So we're looking at 12 or 24 weeks. So that's less than, that's like 1 quarter to 2 quarters, really, even less than 2 quarters. And the repayment schedule is weekly. So Fundbox is not expecting you to repay them on a monthly basis. No, they want you to pay on a weekly basis. So you got to be comfortable that this will not have a disruption on your cash flows. Okay. And minimum credit score can go all the way to 475 all the way to 600. This is really fine. Minimum time in business 6 months, and minimum annual revenue $100,000. What I want to say about Fundbox is that if you are looking for a bad credit business line of credit that reports to Equifax business, Fundbox is a great player. Now, Fundbox does not report once a month. They report once every 2 months or once a quarter. It depends on the activity on your account. But if you want to have monthly reporting, ask them. They might do it for you, but their program is more every 2 months to actually report data to Equifax business. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. I'm talking to you about bad credit business lines of credit that report to Equifax business. The third player I want to share with you today is called OnDeck. And OnDeck actually will approve you if you have minimum credit score of 500. And the good thing is that OnDeck reports your data to Equifax Business every month, and this is really good. We have a couple of business clients that get their data reported on the 21st of every month. This is really fine. And when we talk about OnDeck, we are talking about a business line of credit. It takes about 10, 15, in some cases 20 minutes to apply. OnDeck does have a lengthier application process than the other two, Blue Line and Fundbox. It takes about 1 to 3 days to get approved. But once you are approved, you can be funded on the same day. So this is really cool. And so with OnDeck, the maximum amount you can qualify for is $100,000. $100,000. So we're talking about $6,000 all the way to $100,000. This is really good. The interest rate is kind of decent too. You're looking at 9%. Sometimes it can go all the way to 15%, 16%. This is really fine. But if you have bad credit, expect to pay. You want to expect to pay somewhere around 20%, and it can go all the way to 25%. Just, it comes with the territory. And the repayment term is kind of similar to what Blue Line has. That's 1 year. So 1 year, that's the repayment term. But you do have a repayment schedule that's weekly. So every week, OnDeck wants you to repay the business line of credit that you have actually gotten from them. You don't have to repay the full amount, no, but you have to pay a certain percentage, and that percentage will have to be decided based on your business loan application. Okay. And one thing I want to say here is the FICO score here can go from 475 all the way to 625. Even though we have seen that if OnDeck approves you around 550, you might have to pay a high APR. Minimum time in business, 12 months, which means what? It means if you are a brand new business, you're not going to qualify for a bad credit business line of credit that report to Equifax Business through OnDeck. And the minimum annual revenue here, $100,000. So again, OnDeck is actually catering to, I would say, a slightly more established business profile than the other two. So, but again, it is what it is. Talk to you about it's called Credibly, and Credibly is actually, think of Credibly as a platform that actually acts as a loan broker, but also as a direct lender. So with Credibly, you take about 5 to 10 minutes to apply for this business line of credit, and you will be approved if you have at least a minimum credit score of 550 all the way to 650. Now the delta is there because every state has different requirements. So 550 to 650, and it takes about 4 to 6 hours to be approved. So once you apply, they'll review everything and they'll get back to you with it within the same day. So if you apply, let's say 9 a.m. Pacific, they'll probably get back to you around 2 p.m. Pacific. Okay, and so you can be funded within 24 hours, not a problem at all. And with Credibly is a tremendously generous lender, because they can actually give you all the way to they can approve up to $300,000, and the interest rate revolves around 1.25% to 1.50% per month. We're not speaking about per year. So 1.50% per month, that's like around what, 30%, at least 30%, because if we have to compound it, it will be more than that. But just kind of give you an idea here. And so what you want to do here is if you have bad credit, make sure that you expect, like, you have to plan in terms of liquidity, that you might have to spend a little more in terms of the repayment terms. So the thing is that Credibly is not going to give you 5 years to repay your business line of credit, because remember, this is a bad credit business line of credit that reports to Equifax Business. So they want you to repay the business line of credit as soon as possible. So we're speaking here about a repayment schedule that revolves around a monthly and weekly. So they'll have to choose which one works for you, and this is important. And you got to be at least 6 months in business to qualify, and you got to have, in terms of minimum annual revenue, you have to show at least $20,000 in average monthly deposits for the last 3 months. So that's about what? That's about $6,600 every month. So this is really decent. Okay. And one thing I also need to say here is that you can actually ask for more if you actually qualify. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We're having a conversation about bad credit business lines of credit that report to Equifax Business. I want to talk to you about another lender, that's Clarify Capital. So Clarify Capital actually acts as a broker, but also as a direct lender. And so things can go really fast on Clarify Capital based on our experience. So basically it takes about 2 to 3 minutes to actually qualify for a bad credit business line of credit that reports to Equifax Business through Clarify Capital. And so the approval speed is about 24 hours. Not a problem at all. This is really good. This is really good. And the funding speed, 1 to 2 days. So once you're approved, it takes about 1 to 2 days to actually get the funds in your business checking account. And you can actually qualify for a business line of credit through Clarify Capital up to $750,000. So we're speaking about $750,000. Okay, this is really good. And the interest rate here, we're looking at 6% minimum. And but if you have bad credit, again, in terms of bad credit, you're looking at your FICO score that goes from 450 all the way to 550. That's the minimum. If you have bad credit, expect to pay anywhere from 16% to 24% in APR. Okay, and the repayment term will revolve around 6 to 18 months. Do not expect anything longer than that. If you're lucky, you might have like 18 months. Otherwise, what we have seen in our research is that Clarify want to cap your repayment term around 12 to 14 months. That's how quickly they want to be repaid. But the good thing is that in terms of repayment schedule, monthly. You don't have to do a daily or weekly as some of those players want you to do, but it's kind of cool. And in terms of minimum annual revenue, Clarify Capital wants you to have $10,000 in revenue, gross revenue, every month, and wants you to be in business for at least 6 months. In some cases, they will waive the 6 months requirement, but usually they don't want to have a brand new business. Okay, but overall, Clarify Capital is there for you. They will work with you. You can get an unsecured bad credit business line of credit that reports to Equifax Business, and Clarify tends to report your activity to Equifax Business every month. And so there's no certainty as to what date, but they do it on a monthly basis. Definitely. And one thing we have seen also is that they will actually work with you to make sure that they can fund you directly, or they can tap into their network of over 75 lenders to give you the bad credit business line of credit that reports to Equifax Business. Similar to Clarify Capital is Lendio. So Lendio is actually a biggie in the industry. And with Lendio, you actually have, so Lendio is not a direct lender. So Lendio is actually a loan marketplace. It is a broker, if you will. And so if you have a low revenue and you're looking for a bad credit business line of credit that reports to Equifax Business, Lendio is a great place to start. Because first of all, the application time is about 15 to 20 minutes. You have the approval speed, 1 to 2 weeks. It's pretty slow though. Because why? Because Lendio has to dispatch your line of credit application to all the lenders in its network. And those lenders you might have to have a series of back and forths with those lenders before you get approved. But once you get approved, the funding is really fast. You can get your funds within 24 hours. But that's the approval that takes time, because again, Lendio is not a direct lender. But the loan amounts here, we're looking at the very generous $1,000 all the way to $500,000. So that's the delta you need to pay attention to. The interest rates goes from 8% all the way to 24%. Okay, but everything will depend on your FICO score. Now, your FICO score can go all the way from 500 all the way to 600. And the minimum time in business to qualify for a Lendio loan here is 6 months. And minimum annual revenue, we're speaking about $50,000. So that's about $4,000 every month. What I want to say here is that it's important to pay attention to the repayment term. The repayment term is about 1 to 2 years, depending on the lender. And the schedule here is monthly. So again, you're not going to deal with the occasional disruption caused by a weekly repayment schedule or a daily repayment schedule. So that's really good. But just the only drawback that we don't like, that we actually have to say about the lender, is that sometimes you might receive a couple of calls from multiple lenders. Because Lendio, what they do is they actually dispatch your data to all lenders in their network. And some lenders, even though they do not approve you, they might contact you they might actually solicit you for some business loan or whatever. And but yeah, so just be aware of that. You will have it. It is something that the lender cannot deal with. It is what it is. Another lender I want to share with you here is called CreditFi. And CreditFi is actually it's a broker. And what we love is that CreditFi actually will work with you if you are looking for a bad credit business line of credit that reports to Equifax business. And the thing here is that with the CreditFi, they report your data every month to Equifax business. And in terms of FICO score, you are looking at anywhere from 500 to 600. It takes about 5 minutes to apply on the platform. It takes about 24 hours to be approved. And once you're approved, it takes about 1 to 2 days to actually get funded. So what we love about CreditFi is that you have a very generous lender. You have a very generous platform. You can be approved all the way to $2.5 million. And this is really good. And the APR goes from 6.49% all the way to 16.49%. Obviously, if you have a low credit score, you are going to qualify, and you're going to qualify with a high APR, and vice versa. So that's what we love a lot. The repayment term is a little longer either. So it's a little longer also. You are going to have anywhere from 6 months all the way to 3 years. So this is really good. And the repayment schedule is monthly. So this is really good in terms of like you planning your liquidity and your budget at the business level. And what we love about CreditFi is that you basically have to justify only, I say only, but yeah, you got to be in business for at least 6 months, and you got to justify minimum annual revenue of $100,000. Okay, $100,000. This is really good. This is really good. And what we love about CreditFi also is that, as I said before, the approval speed, 24 hours, maximum 24 hours, and you get your cash on the same day. You get your cash ASAP. They'll wire the funds to your business checking accounts, and you can start using it. Not a problem. And one thing I need to say is that CreditFi actually acts as a broker slash direct lender. So on some transactions, they might actually act as a direct lender, or on some transactions, they might act as a member of a syndicate. So, all kinds of scenarios are totally possible. And the good thing is that you are going to get your loan ASAP. Another loan I want to share with you here is called SBG funding. And SBG funding is a great bad credit business line of credit that reports to Equifax business. And the cool thing about the SBG fund, within 24 hours. And how much are we talking about? We're talking about a maximum loan amount or a maximum line of credit amount of $250,000. And the interest rate is 1.75% per month. So we're talking about here like anywhere from like 21% all the way to 35% per year. Okay. And the repayment term revolves around 6 to 24 months. And you expect to repay everything on a weekly basis or monthly basis. It's totally possible. I mean, what we love about SBG funding is that it is totally flexible. And depending upon your situation, depending upon your business situation, you can actually opt for a monthly repayment schedule or a weekly one. And in terms of credit score, you are looking at the 500 minimum all the way to 600 minimum here. And so SBG will report your data. They actually can report your data once a month, once every 2 months, or once a quarter. It depends on your business situation. But overall, they just want you to have a minimum time in business of 6 months, minimum annual revenue of $250,000. So now this $250,000, you might think that it is a little high, but no, they are flexible. They actually will adjust it for you if you have a solid business plan and you have a solid financial projections. So if you don't meet the $250,000 minimum annual revenue, but you're able to create a business plan, you're able to create a set of financial projections, then they will work with you. We have seen cases where SBG funding was able to reduce the minimum annual revenue from $250,000 all the way to $100,000. $100,000. So we're talking less than 10 grand in monthly in revenue. Okay, less than 10 grand. This is totally possible for a lot of small businesses. All right, thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. So I just finished talking to you about let's do a quick recap here. So the bad credit business lines of credit that report to Equifax Business. So we have Blue Vine, Fundbox, On Deck, Credibly, Clarify Capital, LendU, Creditify, and SBG Funding. Thank you. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.